From Dunlap High School in Dunlap, Illinois, we welcome you to this presentation of Clutch Sports Media. Tonight, it's the IHSA 3A sectional final between the Washington Panthers and the Metamora Redbirds. Alongside Jonathan Michael, I'm Matt Harrington. Jonathan, two of these teams, great two teams, great rivalry, and we're going to get some great excitement here tonight between them.
Definitely, Matt, and most everybody in the Peoria area knows about Metamora's magical season so far. They're 35-1. They certainly don't want their season to end tonight, and I'm sure that they have a lot of adrenaline, but they're going to have even more going up against this Washington team, which is a very storied rivalry. Washington comes into this one 31-7. They just won their own regional last week. You might have caught that on clutchsportsil.com. And on Monday, they're coming off a three-setter win against Rock Island in the sectional semifinal. So Washington, this team has looked very good. They took Metamora to 3 sets in one match earlier this year. It should be a good one here tonight in Dunlap, Matt.
Both of these teams ranked inside the top 15 of the IHSA 3A poll. Metamora at number 5, 35-1, just the one loss to Pleasant Plains back on October 9th. And you look at it too, Jonathan, 32 of their 35 wins have been sweeps. Shows you the kind of depth that they have to get the job done night in and night out.
Definitely. I mean, it's the two Ds for Metamora, depth and dominance. They do not mess around. They will come in and they will not let up. It's evident in how many matches that they have swept this year. Washington, they're going to have to get out to a quick start tonight.
Yeah, and Washington, again, 11-3 in the Middle Illini this year, so that's how they finished 31-7 overall. We want to take this time to remind you that tonight's coverage of Clutch Sports Media Volleyball is presented by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington, Illinois. For more and all of your insurance needs, give Jake a call at 309-444-4441. Again, Jake Weston at State Farm. Appreciate his support of Clutch Sports Media. We're just a couple minutes away from getting going between these two teams, Washington and Metamora. Great rivalry, Jonathan, no matter the sport. I mean, this is about as big as the stakes you could ask for volleyball here tonight.
No kidding, Matt. Clutch Sports Media, we've broadcasted our fair share of Washington and Metamora, both on the basketball court, on the football field. However, this is the first time, I believe, that we have done a Metamora-Washington volleyball game. I'm super stoked tonight. I think there's going to be a great atmosphere. The stands here in Dunlap are as full as I've seen them, so this should be a great atmosphere here tonight.
We are going to have the starting lineups in the national anthem coming up here in just a moment. In the meantime, we'll step aside and we'll come right back for First Serve coming up on clutchsportsil.com.
Welcome to Dunlap High School. Tonight's sectional final contest features the Panthers
Back here at Dunlap High School, just about ready to go between these two Mid-Illini Conference rivals in the sectional final here tonight between Washington and Metamora. And Jonathan, let's take this time now to look at some of the keys to the game. And what do you have for us?
Well, Matt, so for Washington, they're going to have to start fast tonight. They obviously had a 3-set match against Metamora earlier in the season, and they won the first set. And we've talked about how much Metamora sweeps teams so far this year, 32 times. They're going to have to start out fast in that first set tonight. And also they're going to have to keep the crowd in it. I'm kind of going, instead of on the court, I'm going off the court here. But we were at Washington last week for their regional final, and we just saw how much of a factor the crowd played into it. Volleyball is a game where it tends to have a raucous atmosphere, and I certainly think that Washington, if they get the crowd into it, they might be able to help push them to victory. For Metamora, I think it's just going to be able for them just to keep the momentum. Obviously, they're rolling right now. They haven't had a 3-set match since October 9th, so they're rolling right now, not really showing any signs of not being comfortable, so they just need to keep it rolling. And then also Metamora can use their size. They have 7 players over 5'10". They're a significantly bigger team than Washington, so that might be a factor, is who's going to win the game at the net tonight.
Yeah, you talked about the crowd too, and it's gotten to be pretty full here inside the gym at Dunlap High School, and you can kind of see maybe a little bit on your screen once we pan toward the crowd later. There's a very stark divide between the red for Metamora and the orange for Washington. And it looks like both student sections have a pretty good turnout tonight as well.
I would say both the student sections are near full on both sides of the stands. And like you said, Matt, the stands, it's almost like parting the Red Sea. There's the red on one side and the orange on the other side. I don't really think that if you're a Washington fan, if you're on the Washington side, I don't think you're going to want to sit with the Metamora fans, and same goes for Metamora as well.
Well, there's all kinds of talent on the court tonight, some players to potentially keep an eye on. Last week when we were out in Washington, we saw Jory Dowling, the junior middle hitter, have a great game. That big arm up the middle, had a lot of big kills for Washington in that game. And then over for Metamora, you have Kayla Pasha, who was a unanimous All-Mid-Illini player last year for the Redbirds. So at both ends of the floor, you've got players that stand out. Of course, there's a lot more we're going to see, but those are two that just stood out to me personally.
Definitely, Matt. And two of the best players on both sides, you could argue that they are the best players on each side, are both also players for the basketball teams on each of these schools. Kayla Pasha for Metamora and Georgia Duncan for Washington. I was really impressed with seeing Duncan last week. So two players to keep an eye on for sure.
Should be exciting. Just about ready to go here in Dunlap. Again, winner will move on to the super sectional match, which will take place this Friday at, I believe, Joliet Catholic High School. So the winner of that Joliet Catholic Marion Catholic game is who gets the winner of this game tonight. So if Joliet Catholic does win, they have a home court advantage in that game, which could be a big factor.
Definitely, Matt. Looks like we are just about ready to get things underway here.
Just getting a shoe tied before we start. We don't want any injuries on the court.
No, definitely not. And it's not the first delay we've had. We had a little bit of a delay with the national anthem. If anybody caught that watching at home, is reminiscent of last year. We were doing a basketball game at Richwoods, and the anthem singer was not even in the gym. Well, we got the anthem in, and we're ready to go here in Dunlap.
It follows us wherever we go. Underway on the outside, a big block up front and a good start for the Redbirds. That was the combo, looked like, of Hannah Teller and Sophie Adams.
Definitely, Matt. Right away, Metamora using their size at the net. Teller at 5'11", Adams at 5'10".
You and me were talking, and Metamora on paper definitely has a little bit of a height advantage over the Washington Panthers, which could be a factor in tonight's game. A big swing from the outside, almost dug out, but instead that goes off the hands of Audrey Reed. And a quick start for the Redbirds, up 2-0.
Washington is going to have to seize the momentum, and we've talked about it so often in our volleyball broadcast. Big Mo is probably the biggest factor, Big Mo being momentum in this one. And Metamora just picked up even more of it.
Boy, they are rolling to start here, 3-0 for the Redbirds. Emily Cronkite the senior libero on the serve. A lot of seniors on this Metamora roster, which has done so well this year. We'll go to Jory Dowling on the outside, and that's a big, much-needed point to Washington to stop the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah, great job there from Dowling to tool the block and pick up a point for Washington. The Panthers needed that. We saw Washington get out to some big leads in their own regional. Now it's time they're on the other side of the scoreboard here.
Big kill again, that time from Sophie Adams, who's been looking good offensively for Metamora in this one.
Yeah, Adams has definitely been a player that stood out to me so far. And, you know, as soon as Washington got the point, Metamora got that momentum right back. So seizing that momentum back is also going to be a huge factor tonight in Dunlap as well. Free
ball sent over by Reed. As the Redbirds go on the outside again, another kill, this time coming from Esma Frieden.
That's the second big swing we've seen so far from Frieden tonight, the 6-foot sophomore. Yeah, we mentioned that they have a bunch of seniors on this Redbird squad, but Frieden definitely a player that will look to help build the Redbirds' future.
That one just tapped over. Good dig there by Metamora. This one's going to be a point for Washington on the double hit, and so it will be 5-2 after that point.
And Matt, that's really the first error we've seen from either team tonight. Both these teams have played a clean game. All the services have been clean so far, and no real ball hitting errors at all.
Well, miscommunication there by the Redbirds, a rare mistake for them. And so Washington will take that any way they can get it.
Yeah, a little bit of a miscommunication there between Victoria Hall, their setter. And right as I said it, broadcaster's jinx, Metamora did make a mistake there.
That's 2 in a row for Washington after yet another miscommunication by the Redbirds. Very uncharacteristic for the Redbirds early on.
And this is where Washington, for them, they need to get the crowd into it. The student section all on their feet. If they get a point here, I'd expect to see them to get very loud.
Service error that time, though, for the Panthers, so that'll be a point for Metamora. Back to their end of the floor. Be Esma Frieden, the sophomore, who will get the serve for Metamora. Panthers trying to get back into this thing. Good dig by Frieden. That one goes off the ceiling, still alive. Hops over, and a good play at the net there. That's Victoria Hall, the 5'7" junior, going upstairs for the kill.
Definitely, that was a pretty crazy play. The ball went off the ceiling here. Ceiling is not the highest here at Dunlap High School. I definitely expected to see a couple balls go off the roof. And when it came down, it was just ripe for the picking for Victoria Hall.
That's off the hands of Metamora in front of the net, so another point for Washington, keeping up the pace here after a little bit of a slow start.
I definitely think Washington's starting to wake up here. There, Audrey Reed is going to get credit for the kill.
Dowling on the serve here for Washington. And that will be just out of bounds, or inbounds rather, as it falls for Metamora.
Man, I was there right with you. I thought that ball was out of bounds as well. Obviously, we're here at midcourt. The officials are down right there in front of the sideline, so they have the better view at it. I did think that ball looked out of bounds, but nevertheless, it's a game of inches.
Officials have a better view on the floor than we do. That goes off the ceiling. No chance for the Redbirds to make a play, and so that'll be a point for Washington again, 8-6.
Now the ceiling may be a bigger factor than we thought, at least so far to start tonight. We'll have to keep an eye on that as this match goes along.
Grace Scrivener on the serve for the Panthers. Good block there up front for Washington. It's handled by Reed. Now floated over. Good dig by the Redbirds to keep this rally alive. Another good job dig there by Schulte. A combo block there at the net, and that's going to be a point for Washington. Back to within 1 here.
Yeah, nice job from Washington there. They survived some big swings from Metamora. They looked really composed, got 2 key blocks right there. Tiariana Jones, I believe, was a part of 2 of them.
Good kill there. That's Kayla Pesha. We talked about her in the pregame. and gets in on the action. A beautiful kill by her.
Yeah, a nice cross-court kill from Pesha, and those are so hard to defend because you don't expect the ball to be going over there. Caught the Panthers a little bit off guard.
You mentioned Pesha, great basketball player here at Metamora Township High School. Redbirds getting set up again. Pesha blocked in front. Another point for the Washington Panthers. And they are still sticking with him here. This has been back and forth the last few points.
Definitely, and all the momentum seemed to favor Metamora early on. But we just saw there the block from Tariana Jones and Sam Punt. Washington, even though they are outsized a little bit, they've hung with Metamora. I've been very impressed with them so far.
A little bit of a bobble there by the Panthers, so that last point goes to the Redbirds. Ella Stivers is going to check in now for Metamora. 10-8 here in set number 1 between these two Mid-Illini Conference rivals. And a good job there right off the serve by Ella Stivers.
That was a beautiful sinking serve there from Stivers. Didn't really leave Reed much of a chance on the Washington end.
Redbird lead back up to 3 now after that point. Jones will send it over for Washington. Big swing from the outside, dug out by Georgia Duncan. Duncan has to send it over on the free ball for Washington. Good play at the net, but this time it's going to go to the Redbirds, who also had a couple of players right up there in front.
Yeah, definitely. Caleb Pesha, big swing there in Washington. I believe they sent all 3 of their players on the front row to try and get the block. Unsuccessful there, and sometimes these Redbirds are just too big, too athletic. We'll have to monitor that as the game goes along.
Well, all of a sudden, Metamora has bumped their lead up, and that's going to force a timeout from the Washington Panthers as Metamora takes a 5-point lead here in our first timeout. We want to take this time to remind you that tonight's coverage of IHSA 3A Volleyball is presented by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. For all of your insurance needs, give Jake Weston a call at 309-444-4441. Thanks again to Jake Weston of State Farm in Washington for all of his support of Clutch Sports IL. And get a time to break this down a little bit here, Jonathan. Redbirds were, I wouldn't say struggling a little bit, but Washington was keeping with them, and now Metamora, last few points have gone to them. We'll see how Washington responds over the next few points.
Yeah, Kayla Pesha has really emerged as the X factor so far for Metamora in this one. Her swings have looked very, very aggressive, and I think that's going to be who you're going to have to key in on if you're Washington head coach.
That'd be Carrie Dowling, the head coach for the Washington Panthers. That stays inbounds, and a point for Washington.
A nice job there from Washington, being able to get the point out of that timeout. That's so important in volleyball because you don't want to put your timeout and not put it to good use. So nice job there from Washington. We'll see if they can go on a little run here with Jones at the service line.
Jory Dowling back in the game for Washington. Good dig there. That one floats right at the line. It falls, and this is going to be a point for Metamora. Bump the lead back up to 5 here for the Redbirds.
And I saw the roof, yeah, again, another factor. I believe that one hit a light right above the net. Ball fell down, and Metamora earned the point there to extend their lead back to 5.
Big swing, good dig, though, from Victoria Hall for the Redbirds. Reed keeps it alive. Scrivener trying to get it down to the floor. Now that goes off the net, and a point for Washington as that one didn't quite get over to the Panthers side.
Yeah, Jory Dowling with a big block there, and she had a lot of those last week during the Panthers regional. She's going to have to come up big tonight.
Metamora trying to keep this run going. That's going off the hands, or out of play rather. And another point for Washington, cutting that lead down to 3. Winner of this game, again, moves on to the Super Sectional on Friday night against either Joliet Catholic or Marion Catholic. We'll see if we can get a score update for that game later. This point, though, going to go to Metamora, a little controversy here. Washington fans not liking that one.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the call was there. It looks like the ball deflected off the net. It didn't look to me as if it crossed the net. But Metamora picks up the point there, and Washington not too happy about that. They're going to have to stay level-headed, though, to make a small comeback here in the first set.
Leah Jones checks in for Washington. Service error, though, here for Metamora. And so that'll make it 15-12. Sam Schulte will be the new server for the Panthers. Schulte sends it over. Big swing on the outside and a good kill there from Esma Frieden.
Nice job there by Frieden to tool the block and kind of hit it in a way that it would deflect off the Washington blockers straight out of bounds. Nice job there for the Redbird.
One thing we've seen from Metamora all night long is that good presence in front of the net. Certainly making a difference right now. Here's Dowling with a big swing. Dug out there by the Redbirds, and that'll go too far. And a point, oh, it looks like it deflected actually off a Washington player. And so that's going to be a point for the Redbirds.
And Washington head coach Carrie Dowling cannot believe it. Trying to encourage her team here, but yeah, that one just grazed off of a Panther. I'm not sure which one.
I don't know if, I didn't see it personally. It must have been just very close on the call there, but a big point nonetheless for Metamora. This will have to be sent over on a free ball by Washington. That goes off the hands of Duncan. A big kill on the outside there from Kayla Pesha again. Another timeout here by Washington, and the lead back up to 6 here for Metamora. Reminder that tonight's coverage of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington, Illinois. For all of your insurance needs, give Jake Weston a call at 309-444-4441. Very easy number to remember there if you're looking for some new insurance with Jake Weston. Back to the game at hand here in Dunlap. 18-12 lead for Metamora, who has had a bit of a run here in the past couple of points, Jonathan. But really, you feel like Washington potentially maybe got robbed of a point there. How do you get past that and try and move on and get your focus right moving into the final stage of set number 1?
Well, if you're Washington, I think you have to, eliminate the thought that, we're going up against Metamora and we need to come through and just play absolutely perfect volleyball. You just need to come in and play the best volleyball that you can. Don't worry about who the opponent is. Don't worry about that 35-1 season. Don't worry about all the hype surrounding this team. Just go out there, play your own brand of volleyball, stay level-headed, and try and claw your way back into this one.
A win for Metamora tonight would make it the winningest season in program history. They've hit the 35 win mark a few times, but a 36 would be new record for them. How about that deception move by Hannah Teller, number 12 for Metamora?
Yeah, one of the first times we've called Teller's name tonight. She had a big block earlier in this one, but Metamora using a little finesse there. We've seen him use a little bit of power on most of their kills. That one definitely caught Washington off guard, though.
This is the biggest lead of the night right now for Metamora, 7 points. We'll see how the Panthers respond. Teller again, good play by Reed. Now that one's going to get down for a kill. That's much needed on the Washington Panthers side. Now Dowling will go back and serve.
Yeah, big kill there from Georgia Duncan, and nice job from Washington recovering after Metamora did the slide play there. It's where the girl on the front middle comes around to the end for the kill. Washington defended that very nicely, though.
Pesha, whoa, that goes off the light.
I mean, quite the sound.
Good reaction, though, by Washington to keep that alive, and they end up getting a point out of it. Actually, I'm sorry, that's going to go to Metamora. My apologies. Makes it 20-13, Redbirds lead. 5 points away from closing out the first set.
Your apology is accepted. We've had many points that have just been a matter of mere inches tonight.
Here's Jones, and that is in for the point. Perfect placement there by Tariana Jones.
Yeah, nice job there from Jones, finding the open spot on the court. And if you're Washington, I think you have to do two things very well here in the first set. one, give them less free balls, and two, find the open spots on the court and be aggressive in trying to hit those.
Grace Scrivener serves it away here for Washington. Here's Pasha. That's off the ceiling again, and that came down like a bullet. And no chance for Washington to keep that alive. So Metamora picks up another point here as they'll make a substitution. Looks like Sophie Adams checking back in for the Redbirds.
Yeah, there for the Panthers. Grace Scrivener caught a little bit off guard, and rightfully so. I mean, it's so hard to judge where that ball is going to go once it hits off the ceiling here.
Good dig by Cronkite there. Washington keeping it alive, and the free ball attempt by Reed does not go over the net. And another point for Metamora as they are inching closer here towards a first set victory. 22-14 the lead right now for Metamora. Big opportunity for them. And if you take out the October 9th series of games that they've had, that accounts for, I believe, 3 of the 4 matches that have gone 3 sets for them. So they have been dominant all season long in that department. Another point for Metamora here makes it 23-14.
Yeah, Metamora just 2 points away from closing out this first set. Although we have seen crazier things in the game of volleyball before, it's not too uncommon to see a team go on a big 5, 6, 7-0 run, especially once they get that momentum. I think Washington, this is a must-win point right here.
Good dig that time. And Jones, what a play by Metamora to keep it alive. That was Hall. Another dig in the back row is dug out by Delaney Davis. That one falls. What a play by the Redbirds a couple of times to keep that rally alive. And now a 10-point lead and just 1 point away from moving on to the second set.
I believe that was Bella Gregory for Metamora. He had a nice little tip kill there, put some backspin on it, and just out of reach of Washington. Nice job there by the sophomore.
Duncan sending it over. Good play in the back row. Diving effort. Stays over, and it falls. Washington, with their backs against the wall here, get a big-time kill. And I believe that's McKinley there for Washington on the kill.
Nice job there from Washington, and even if you don't pull out this first set, plays like that are plays that you're going to have to make later in this one, so that's encouraging to see if you're on the Panthers side.
Duncan gets it to fall off the serve. Washington not going away here, 24-16.
Georgia Duncan is one of the better servers on this Panthers squad. She'll need to get 8 points in a row for this Washington team to tie this one up at 25.
And that won't happen as Sophie Adams gets the kill, and that's how this first set is going to end. Metamora takes it 25-16. What a way to start this set, or this match rather, Jonathan, with a win for the Redbirds. And they had their ups and downs, but overall they were in control pretty much the whole way.
Yeah, Metamora, they got off to a quick start early in that one. Washington came back, made it close. They were inching closer, about 1 or 2 points away. The teams kind of seesawed for a little bit, but Metamora just seized momentum once they hit about that 15, 16-point mark and went on a big run, and then was able to hold on there. And that makes it all the more harder for Washington now, is you have to win 2 sets in a row against this Metamora Redbirds team to keep your season alive.
We'll take this time to remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington, Illinois. For all of your insurance needs, give Jake Weston a call at 309-444-4441. Once again, thank you to Jake Weston and State Farm in Washington for all of his support of Clutch Sports Media. And we are, again, at the end of the first set, 25-16 lead for Metamora as they take set number 1 pretty handily. This is, kind of the way it's been for the Redbirds all year. They get ahead, and they close ahead by a large margin.
Definitely, yeah. Metamora, they're just so lethal once they get ahead in the game. You have to hit Metamora, and you have to hit them early if you want any chance. Washington obviously dropped the first set, but they did a good job of recovering after Metamora went out to an early 3-0 lead. They seemed composed, they recovered, and they play some pretty good volleyball. This Metamora team is just so good. Definitely one of the best volleyball teams I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, well, for Metamora, we take a look at the postseason matchups that these two teams have had in the past, and it's been a while if I'm not mistaken, but you know, they've had some good matchups over the years, but recently it's been dominated by Metamora, or at least just overall in the last 5 years or so. It's been 5 years since Washington has beat Metamora, and they've won 13 straight in a row against this Panthers team, 10 of those being sweeps. Now, one of those non-sweeps was earlier in the year, back in the first couple weeks of the season. But overall, this is a Metamora team that has found a way to consistently beat Washington pretty much almost every season, it feels like, the past few years.
Yeah, and that's definitely sort of an anomaly because you look at the Metamora-Washington rivalry, you look at it in basketball and football, and those teams are just about even, right near the top of the Mid-Atlantic standings just about every year. Volleyball is where Metamora has a little bit of an edge over the Panthers, at least the last couple seasons. I believe these two teams faced off in the 2019 regional final, and Metamora swept Washington 2-0 in that one. So if you're Washington, you gotta look at your seniors, George Duncan, Sam Schulte, those other players that were there for that 2019 season, and say, hey, this is your last time that you may take the floor. This is your last chance to beat Metamora. You're gonna wanna really do that tonight.
The Redbirds have won the last 8 postseason matchups against the Panthers, dating back to the last Washington win against Metamora in the playoffs or the postseason, which was in 2003. That was a sectional final, just like we have here tonight. A 2-1 win for Washington in that one. But overall, dominance by the Redbirds. And again, last time these two teams played in the postseason was the 2019 regional final. Metamora won that match 2-0.
2003. I don't think any of these players were even alive back in 2003. How about you? But I was just a young toddler.
I was too. So I was 3 years old back then.
So was I.
Long time. We'll see if Washington has what it takes to battle back here, down 1-0. Nearly a service ace, but it's kept alive by Metamora. Duncan. That goes off the hands of Teller. Now floated over as Washington keeps it. Reed trying to set it up the middle, and that goes out of bounds for a Metamora point to start this second set here in Dunlap.
Yeah, both teams looked a little bit out of sync there. I thought Washington would have had the point earlier in that one. And Metamora, they're able to get the point on a block from Sam Schulte in the back row. Just went a little bit too far out of bounds.
Reed will take the serve here. Now Duncan trying to get it down to the floor past Cronkite, and that's going to go for another Metamora point. 2-0 Redbirds, and just like the first set, Metamora taking the first couple points here.
Yeah, Esma Frieden came in for that one, and we saw the Redbirds go cross court for a kill earlier in this one. That one, she went right down the line, so the Redbirds doing a good job of keeping Washington off balance.
Great play at the net by Metamora. Scrivener trying to keep it alive there for Washington, and does, and now Duncan getting a hand on it on the left side there for Washington, and a big point for the Panthers.
Yeah, big block there from Duncan, and they're going to need those tonight. We mentioned earlier Metamora with a definite size advantage over this Washington team, and like we mentioned earlier as well, Duncan could be playing in her last high school volleyball match tonight, so expect an inspired performance from her.
Another great player on the basketball court for Washington. This is going to be another point for Washington. So they even it up here at 2. This is a point, though, Jonathan, early in set number 2, where if you're the Panthers, you got to get going on a little bit of a run here.
Definitely. If you're Washington, you're just going to want to get your first lead. They're looking for their first lead of the night tonight. If you get in front, it give you a lot of confidence, a lot of momentum. And that one looks like will not go the Panthers' way, just barely in bounds.
I don't know about that one. That was looked out from our vantage point up here. It was Esma Frieden, though, on the kill, but tough break for Washington. They've had a couple of close calls that have not gone their way in this one.
As Washington, you just got to overcome that. You know, there's really no time to complain about that, especially in postseason play. The best teams will prove that they'll be able to overcome those close calls and try and pull out a victory.
Great dig there. And that goes off the hands of Reed. And a tough break for Washington, or yes, tough break for Washington. Point for Metamora. And Frieden will serve here for the Redbirds. That goes off the net, so a service error from her, back down to Washington 4-3.
You gotta think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity there from Metamora. Both teams struggling to definitively establish momentum in this one. Metamora looked like they could have done it there, but service error prevents that from happening.
Good play by Duncan for Washington. Pesha trying to get it to the floor, and that's unable to be handled by Reed in the back row. Another point for Metamora as they make a couple of substitutions.
Yeah, Metamora, they've really been attacking Reed in that back row tonight. She's had a little bit of a tough time for the 5'5 junior, but she's overall, I mean, those are some very hard balls to receive coming in, flying right at your face.
Tough play to make there for Delaney Davis. So Metamora picks up another here to make it 6-3. Great crowd on hand here tonight at Dunlap High School. Most of the bleachers are pretty full, at least on the far side of the gymnasium. There's Pesha. That one is down, or out of bounds rather, for a point for Washington.
And for Washington, that was a much needed point right there. You don't want to let Metamora get 4 points ahead. I think if you're Washington, I think the number is you got to keep it within 3 the rest of the night if you want to stay competitive. And they're going to need to win this match, or this set, excuse me, if they want any chance of winning the match.
That's going to be another point for the Redbirds. That was Schulte trying to get up and make a play for Washington. Instead, it goes out of bounds. Victoria Hall will be the server now for Metamora. 7-4 lead for the Redbirds and a 1-0 lead in the sets category as well. Pesha can't get it through the sea of white in front of the net. And that's going to be a point for Metamora to make it 8-4.
Washington is definitely going to need a point here, and if I'm Washington, I'm definitely looking at Jory Dowling. We haven't called the junior's name that much tonight. She stood out, at least to me, in their regional. Nothing much from her tonight, but we'll see if she can turn that around.
Off of Dowling on the Washington side. Scrivener to Dowling, and it's down. Big point for Washington, and just like that, it is 8-5.
Well, I'm not going to give myself too much credit there, but nice job there from Dowling being able to get the kill, and she's at the service line now, so we'll see if Washington's able to turn the tide at least early in this one. Metamora's looked really strong so far. They're getting clean touches and aggressive, very aggressive kills.
Well, how about Kayla Pesha so far for Metamora in this game? Just as you see the arm strength coming off the ball, it's just supersonic speed almost for her.
Exactly. It's like the ball just almost shooting out of a cannon. I would not want to be on the receiving end of one of Pesha's kills.
That one just kept alive, goes off the ceiling, and now Metamora sends it over on the free ball. Scrivener for Jones, blocked at the net, it falls. Another Metamora point as they continue to rack up the points in front of the net there.
Yeah, and Washington, they had an opportunity there. I thought they were going to be able to have a good chance to get a point there, but Bella Gregory and Esma Frieden said no way.
That goes too far on the serve by Stivers, and so another point for Washington. To make it 10-6 here, we'll have a couple of substitutions for both of these teams. Looks like it will be Grace Scrivener, the 5'7 junior, to serve it here for Washington.
Nice serve there.
Caught Pesha off guard a little bit. And another ball that goes too far for Metamora, so that's twice in a row now that that's happened to them. 10-7 lead for the Redbirds.
That's why it's so important for Washington to keep this momentum, to keep getting points, because from the serve, it looked like they had Metamora off balance.
Sophie Adams on that kill for Metamora. Back up to a 4-point lead for the Redbirds. A win for them tonight again would be the winningest season in Metamora history. And a little confusion about that last point. Not sure what happened there. I don't know if you were able to see that at all, Jonathan, but it's a point for Metamora regardless.
No, I was not able to see that one, Matt. Might have been maybe some sort of formation issue.
I think that's what it was,
Washington's end, because that ball was blown dead pretty much even right before it crossed the net.
Washington trying to stick with the Redbirds here. And a good dig in the back row by Duncan. That's Schulte. Pesha keeps it alive for Metamora. Another big swing finds its way to the floor off the hands of Duncan, who had a good attempt to keep that ball alive, but instead it falls for another Redbird point.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due there for George Duncan, but Metamora, they've placed their balls so well tonight, really put Washington in some tough positions to try and get that clean first touch. Metamora looks firmly in the driver's seat, at least so far.
This one floated. It rode the net there for a moment, but doesn't get over to the Washington side. So another point this time for Washington. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, no, I was just about to say that ball kind of rolled the rails, as I like to say, right off the top of the net. That's a ball that couldn't go Metamora's way, but they've also had a couple close calls that have gone their way as well.
Quinn Gillespie now in for the Panthers. Good play by her to get it over. Duncan, a big swing on the outside, is kept alive. Free ball for the Panthers. Davis, now for Duncan, off the fingertips and kept alive. Oh, look at that kill up the middle from Hannah Teller. Another big, powerful kill for the Redbirds, who have been doing that all night long.
This Metamora team, boy, they are a high-octane squad, if I had to describe them. They are foot all the way down, pedal to the metal. They are not letting up. She sent that one off of Schulte straight to the assistant coach of Washington on the bench.
Duncan again. Great play at the net there by Teller and Hall. Now Hall will set this one up, and it finds the floor. Sophie Adams picks up another kill, and that will prompt a Washington timeout here as the Redbirds have started to run away with it a little bit here. 15-8 in set number 2. We'll take this time to remind you that tonight's coverage of IHSA 3A Sectional Final Volleyball and Clutch Sports Media is presented by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington, Illinois. For all of your insurance needs, give Jake from State Farm a call at 309-444-4441. Very easy number to remember. The Metamora student section is alive, and as they should be, their team's playing very well right now.
Definitely, Metamora, they've seized all the momentum in this one. We've seen some cardboard cutouts to some of the players, even in their student section. They came ready. That student section is pretty much just about filled. They've been a huge part of this one, and they're not far away from Metamora earning a super sectional berth.
We'll take this time to get or actually you have a score update for us on that Joliet Catholic Marian Catholic game.
I do, Matt. Joliet Catholic and Marian Catholic, the winner of which will play the winner of this match. Joliet Catholic took the first set over Marian 25-8. It's a pretty convincing score, so Joliet's able to hang on. As of right now, they would face Metamora. They're looking good so far, but still a long way to go in this one. Not going to ride off the Panthers too early yet.
Joliet Catholic is ranked number 8 in the Class 3A poll right now. There's a point for Washington to slow the bleeding a bit, 16-9 in that game.
Yeah, service ace there from Metamora. And we haven't seen them make many mistakes tonight. You don't want to get too comfortable and with the end in sight.
Big swing on the outside there. Jones Now to Dowling, who keeps it alive. Duncan, Pasha. Now they'll go on the outside again. Great dig by Jones. Off the ceiling to keep it alive. Dowling, and this has been a long rally, and Metamora finds the floor. Nobody was even close for Washington, and another big kill and point for the Redbirds, 17-9.
Yeah, on that point there, Matt, Washington was seeming that they were going to expect a big kill from either of the sides there. Both of their outside hitters were coming up as if they were going and lining up for a big kill, but nice dump play there from Metamora.
That one's going to fall as it went off the hands of a couple Metamora players in front. Washington finally getting to double digits here in the second set, as that's point number 10 for them. 17-10 though, they still trail. Oh, mishandled off the serve there by Frieden. An uncharacteristic mistake from the Redbirds, so back to a Washington serve off the service ace. Redbirds sending it over to Pasha, who finds the floor. Another kill for her as she continues to rack them up on that left side of the floor.
Yeah, Metamora, they're really attacking that back line of Washington tonight. Namely Delaney Davis and Audrey Reed. That one just out of reach, and they know where the ball is coming, Davis and Reed do, but it just is coming so quickly that they have hardly any time to react.
Big swing from Dowling up the middle. A big point there for Washington, cuts the lead to 6. Duncan will go back on the serve here. Looks like Schulte's going to check back in here for Washington. She's had a good match so far for the Panthers. Here's Pasha. Again, that big arm on the outside. A good dig from Washington in the back row. Now over for Pasha again. That goes off the hands of Leah Jones, and no chance for the Panthers to keep it alive.
Yeah, I believe that went off of the Panthers libero, Delaney Davis, the 5'1" senior. Got to commend her for her effort in what could potentially be her last game. She's playing to keep the Panthers season alive tonight. But if you're Washington, sooner or later, you can't keep trading points. You're going to have to go on a big run. Now at 20-12, this is crunch time if you're the Panthers.
8-point lead for Metamora, and you mentioned it, certainly crunch time for them. Big swing goes out of bounds off the hands of Sam Schulte. That's a tough break for her. And now Metamora 4 points away from closing this thing out, and we're going to have a timeout for Washington. They still had one left. Good call by head coach Carrie Dowling. And now a chance to talk things over. Desperation time. But before we do that, we'll take this chance to remind you that tonight's coverage of IHSA Volleyball and Clutch Sports Media is presented by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington, Illinois. For all of your insurance needs, give Jake from State Farm a call at 309-444-4441. Easy to remember. It's right on the screen, and I still messed it up.
Well, it's easy to remember, but it's hard to say with all those fours
Yes.
in there. So I'll give you a pass on that one, Matt. Again, it's very, very hard with all those fours in a row. But again, very easy to remember. Want to thank Jake Weston for his continued coverage of Clutch Sports Media. And Matt, I wanted to mention real quick, if you're Washington, you saw that last point, Schulte going for the big kill there. Even though Metamora picked it up, I still like that play from Washington, though. They're really going to have to just go all out, have some big, big swings. They have to take some risks, but I like to see that if you're Washington.
What a season this has been for Metamora. Just the one loss on the year to Pleasant Plains back on October 9th as they inch closer to a victory here. 22-12 lead now for the Redbirds as the students are loving it.
I was just about to say the student section, they can about smell it. That's 3 points away in this one. And in both of these games, Matt, Metamora, they just really turned up the ignition about halfway through the game and really just haven't given Washington anything to work with.
Duncan sends it over for Washington. Great play at the net. That was Schulte and Dowling right there with the play at the nets, and that is a much needed point, maybe some life for this Washington team.
And Dowling back to serve now for Washington. Again, one of the better servers on this Panther squad. This may be the biggest serving run of her life if she can come through and help the Panthers earn some points.
Double hit there from Metamora, so a point for Washington. They're not going away here.
No, they're definitely not. Jory Dowling, again, one of these X factors on this Washington team. She knows what it takes.
Big serve from her. That thing had some speed on it. Nearly falls to the floor, but good play by Jones, and another point for Washington on a little bit of a roll here, and you can sense the momentum starting to turn in their favor perhaps.
Yeah, 3 straight for Washington, and if you want any indicator, that Washington student section, they're getting a little bit louder. Metamora, nothing much from their side, so again, that was one of the keys to the game, is to get the crowd into it. Washington's gonna need it here.
That's a service there from Dowling, and that's a tough break for the Panthers, as Metamora will have a chance now to serve, just 2 points away from taking this section final match. Again, winner moves on to play the winner of Joliet Catholic and Marion Catholic in the super sectional, which will be on Friday night.
Yep, both these teams just a couple wins away. Metamora, if they can hold on, it would just be 2 wins away from the state finals at Redbird Arena.
Jones keeps it alive. Over to the outside, a big swing and a kill for Esma Frieden, and Metamora is now 1 point away from moving on to the super sectional.
Boy, how much adrenaline do you think is running through this Metamora team right now? With just the season you've had, you're playing your biggest rival, sectional final, 1 win away from the super sectional, 1 point away.
Washington trying to keep their season alive, a good kill.
Nice job there from Washington. Kind of caught Stivers like a deer in the headlights there. Nice big kill from Washington. We've seen so many of those from Metamora. Haven't seen quite as many from Washington. I think that was one of the defining factors tonight. We'll see if there will be a Washington miracle here in this one.
Big swing off the hands, and Metamora is moving on to the super sectional on Friday night. What a win for the Redbirds. This is now officially the winningest season in Metamora volleyball history with their 36th win of the year. Incredible run, and they'll have a chance to continue it on Friday nights.
Definitely, and we're just so lucky. Everyone in the building is so lucky to see Metamora and just the historic run that they've made this year. You know, last year for this Metamora team, they were 17-1. This year now, they're 36-1. As you see them receiving their sectional championship plaque right there. Dominant stretch for this Metamora team. 53-2 in the last 2 years. What a run that the Redbirds have been on. As the students, they're rushing the court.
They sure are excited to see, and whoa, look out, Jim Matson down there right in the middle trying to get the perfect shot for his news crew. But how about Metamora? Just an incredible season this team has had. So many good players all around. They have the depth to get it done, whether it be Kayla Pasha, Victoria Hall, to name a few. It seems like Metamora's had an answer for every question that has come up for them over the course of the year.
Definitely, and Metamora is coach. I mean, you can't forget about the coach too, Tara Ballard. Been their coach since 2014. This is now her 2nd sectional championship with this Metamora team, the first in 6 years. 2015, the last time that these Redbirds took home a sectional championship. It's just a great stretch that she has these Redbirds on. Obviously, this team is full of seniors, but Metamora, they just have a great volleyball culture at that school. And, you know, Tepke Gymnasium is home to one of the premier volleyball squads in all of Illinois. Looking forward to Metamora and their bid to go to the state finals. Again, Washington, on the other hand, very good season as well. They finish the season at 31-8, 2nd in the Mid-Illini. Again, a team loaded with talent. Got people like Georgia Duncan, Sam Schulte stood out as well. You know, this Washington team, they're a very, very good team, and they just ran into a brick wall in Metamora tonight.
Yeah, you want to give credit to Washington as well. They had a terrific season as well. Only 8 losses on the year. Dowling had a great year. You know, you name it. Jones, another player who stood out to me tonight, she looked really well. But overall, big kudos to Washington for sticking with Metamora. And it's just tough. You mentioned it was a brick wall out there for Metamora, a buzzsaw, whatever you want to say. Metamora just continues to run the table here, and we'll see if they can keep it going on Friday night as they will take on the winner of Joliet Catholic and Marion Catholic. And we'll see if we can maybe get one last score update on that game for you.
Joliet Catholic, as of 2 minutes ago, according to their Twitter, they are the sectional champs. So it will be Metamora against Joliet Catholic. They're hosting the super sectional, Matt. So like we mentioned earlier, Metamora, they'll be playing almost like a true road contest against JCA on Friday.
That should be a fun one. Looking forward to it. We'll see if the Redbirds can keep it going, or we'll see if Joliet Catholic can get the win on their home court as well. But a big thank you to our entire Clutch Sports Media team for coming out tonight. Josh Schwamm running the camera, Gavin Russell behind the production. Of course, you, Jonathan Michael, and also big credit to Joey Wright and Larry Larson for coming out, helping us set up here tonight. But it was a very fun one. Any final thoughts from Dunlap High School as Metamora advances to the super sectional?
Well, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Metamora, that they were rolling. They just needed to keep the momentum going. And that's probably the biggest key for them right now is they have all the pieces. They know what it takes. They have everything they need to make a run at the state finals. They just need to just go out and do it, play mistake-free volleyball. They did it tonight. You know, there was really not much that would change about this Metamora team. If I was a teacher, I'd give this team an A+. This real complete performance from Metamora tonight, 37-1 on the season. Almost hard to believe.
Hard to believe indeed. What a run for the Redbirds, and they'll try and keep it going Friday night against Joliet Catholic. That'll wrap up our coverage from Dunlap, Illinois. Once again, for our entire Clutch Sports Media crew, Josh Schwamm, Gavin Russell, and Jonathan Michael, I'm Matt Harrington saying so long from Dunlap. Metamora advances to the Super Sectionals.